There's a long one. Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of All Nat, brought to you by OTS. I am your host, Natalie, but most people call me Nat. And a man who needs no introduction is with me today, the GOAT, Marcus Thompson. Don't make those faces, Marcus. You know, like Warriors fans, Warriors Twitter, like you're revered or among these parts. Like, I'm so excited.
Why did I have to pay
on.
to come on here? That's what I don't understand.
Marcus, please stop telling stories about me.
Why did I have to beg? I mean, I figure if I'm the GOAT, I should get an invitation. I had to literally ask you, can I come on?
That is, first of all, not what happens, okay? But
I didn't guilt you. I didn't guilt you into bringing me on.
You did not guilt me. So I created a list of people who I wanted as guests, right? And there was like the list of people who I thought I could get. And then there was the list of people who I had to build up the courage to ask. And Marcus Thompson was, of course, one of those people. I thought for a long time that you couldn't even stand me. I was like, this man hates me. I know. I had no reason to think that. I just thought it.
That's so random. That's so random.
So no, I definitely never. It was always like, oh, if I could get Marcus on the pod. So don't let him fool y'all, okay? Thank you for being on today, Marcus.
Money well spent. I'm glad I paid. It's good.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, so Oakland native, GOAT, covers the Warriors, wrote to me the definitive best book about Wardell, Stephen Curry. Just had a recent appearance on the Low Post podcast, which Twitter was buzzing about. So I actually want to talk to you about that a little bit, but why don't we start? We're here today to preview the finals, but why don't we start with like last night's game, if that's okay with you? Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, my fate was tied to it. Trying to figure out where I was going.
Where were you? Am I allowed to ask where did you want it to go? Like, did you have did you have a vested interest in it being in one place more than another?
Not particularly. I think either place would have been cool for different reasons. It was just like, all right, which mindset I was gonna be in. Because if we went to Miami, we kicking it. My wife and daughter are gonna come with me either way. So it just changes the experience, right? Like, am I bringing beach clothes or, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? So right. I think either are cool places to visit. I mean, Miami's top flight, right? So you can't beat Miami, but Boston's. I mean, I'm from Oakland, so all of East Coast cities are all like, touristy to me. It's like, hey, we're going to see these alleged, staple cities of America.
Wow. Like, wow. All the East Coast cities are touristy?
Yeah, New York, DC. For us, like, it's like, yo, we're going. I mean, I love New York and DC, right? And it's like
great towns.
Yeah, but it's like just being there is like a treat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to do much of anything, but just being there, just like, yo, we out, we in these streets. So Boston kind of has that same, like, you on the East Coast vibe, know, until it like gargoyles on the buildings and stuff, like all them old statues and
I know it's not I know it's not probably a thing for that at least Black people are supposed to say about Boston, but Boston's actually a great city. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I've always liked Boston, man. Boston, I've always had a good time in Boston. Like, I love seafood, so Boston's a great place. Like, I haven't had any problems in Boston. I'm not saying there aren't problems,
right?
Like, clearly there are problems in Boston, but
yes. Has your daughter been to Boston? Has she been to Boston before?
She was really little the last time we went.
Okay.
She was really small, so she don't remember, but she's kind of excited about it. My wife is a big, like, sightseer type, so she loves, like,
sightseer
going to see. Yeah. She's like, I want to see this and that and that. So that's going to be a little irritating, but it'll be fun.
Your wife sounds perfect. I love her already. So you're gonna be in Boston. Do you think, because I know coming into it, people were like, I felt like a lot of Warriors fans were rooting for Miami because they thought it would have been the more favorable matchup for the Warriors. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, I think it was definitely the more favorable matchup. I do think though, if Miami wins that series, it would probably be proof of why you shouldn't be thinking it's so favorable. Like that, they're just tough, man. And to win that series would have been like, a staple of just how tough it is. And teams like that just don't be dying.
Right.
But Boston is clearly a tougher matchup for the Warriors. I think that's pretty obvious. It was obvious in the regular season, and it's obvious like watching these teams play. They just don't have Miami doesn't have the defenders that Boston has.
Right. When Boston lost game 6 and Draymond Green made his comments about we're going to be playing Boston. The Heat players didn't take too kindly about it. And then there was like a whole debate on, Dre is the new media as he coins it. So, I think just everyone adjusting to this new idea of like a player who's currently playing and being in the media talking is something people have to get used to. But there was a debate around whether he should have said that, people not liking it. What did you think about his comments?
I think Shaq put him on the spot first off.
Right.
Shaq was like, he tried to get out of it, but Shaq wouldn't let him go. He's like, nope, tell me, Draymond, don't be playing. but Draymond is like ridiculously smart. And so I think he gave the answer where he would win either way.
Okay.
Right. If Miami pulls out that series and wins, I think he knows they're playing the favorable matchup. And if Boston, if he's right, Boston wins, he's right.
Right.
Like I told you. So
win-win.
Yeah, Draymond is so smart, man. I could see
that. I said I think he's trying to do a little Jedi mind trick.
Oh yeah, no question. Like he couldn't lose in that situation. If Miami wins, he's like, good. I just set it up so we can play the opponent that we have a better matchup against. And if but now it looks like he's a genius. That's me projecting the genius Jedi onto Draymond. That's what I figured he was up to.
So I think the better team won the series ultimately. So, I get it that Miami was banged up and everything, but I do think the better team won the series. Boston's defense, their offense, it gets stagnant at times. So right now, everyone's talking about their defense, especially on the wings, and like how much problems it will give the Warriors, which I want to talk about. But like to me, like I feel like people are not talking about the defensive team that the Warriors are or can be. So like to me, the real difference here, there's lots of differences, but it's really Boston's offense, right? Because it gets stagnant at times. And they almost let the Heat come back and win at the end, that Jimmy 3, that everyone's talking about. It's questionable, but the Warriors let teams back in too. So I can't say that's unique to the Celtics, but they struggle to score the basketball. So when you're looking at this matchup and you're looking at the two teams, where do you see like the favorable, I guess, what's favorable for Boston in this matchup? They're going to have the most length, right? They're probably going to have, they'll have more athleticism probably. Where else do you see like some matchup advantages for them?
They shoot the ball pretty well, like not consistently, but they get hot. They'll have these games where they just go crazy from three, and they bring in guys who can hit threes. And as we've seen, the Warriors can get a little like out of pocket with their 3-point defense, right? They play the whole protect the paint. They aren't playing big, so they protect the paint, and they just believe they will get out to shooters. But sometimes that burns them, and I think they bank on it not burning them for a whole series. But Boston is a team that can get hot for a game. There was a few games in this playoffs where they just went nuts from three, and it's like, Yo, who is this team? When Marcus Smart is hitting threes, that's pretty much ball game. That's like
Yeah,
Draymond hitting
like Dre.
threes. Right, that's ball game. They
Did
bring
they?
in Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, like who can shoot. Al Horford can shoot. So that's one of the things. Like the Warriors do like to, they're gonna press up on Jayson Tatum. They're gonna make him drive. Jaylen Brown, same thing. But that drive and that kick, like if Boston makes shots, they'll be really tough to beat. Just like Dallas was when they made shots. To me, that's
Right.
the advantage. They do have quite a few shooters. They aren't consistent, but they're streaky. So when they get hot, they're on. And when they're on, they're really tough to beat.
Boston tends to do that a lot on the road. They seem to play better on the
Oh yeah.
road than they do at home. Do you think they're going to be the first team this postseason to win a game at Chase?
I do think it's definitely possible. I definitely think that this team can win. It's so tough, man. These aren't the same Warriors, right? This Warriors team we're watching now, we haven't seen this team all year. Like this isn't the team that they played in March when they came in and kind of suffocated the Warriors in a way. Like that was a beat down, right? And the Warriors walked away from that like, uh-oh, right? I remember talking to people about it. It's like, look, if we see him in the finals, we'll have to figure them out. But they're tough. They're legit. I mean, they held the Warriors to 88 points. Obviously, Steph got hurt in that game, but they didn't score. They didn't score. I think they had like 30 something points in the first half. Like it was a
Right.
clinic. So their ability to play defense and potentially make shots on the road, it makes the Warriors vulnerable. But what we haven't seen from the Warriors in this postseason is them not being clutch. And that's what kind of Boston breaks you down, and then at the end of the games, like the other team kind of falls apart. And the Warriors have been really clutch, especially in fourth quarters. Like Steph takes over in the fourth. The Warriors end up wearing you down. So this is such a different team. Like I don't think anything we've seen from the Warriors before these playoffs can be factored into the algorithm because they're just different. Like
Right.
everybody's playing different. Clay looks different.
They're
So
sort of learning on the fly together in the
they got
playoffs.
everybody healthy. They got everybody
Right.
healthy and they know what they're doing. And it's a big difference. Draymond talks about this all the time. It's a big difference when these dudes are preparing for a team as opposed to a team coming in town, you got shoot around and figure it out, and then you on to the next one. It's like, nah, all right, they've already been preparing for Boston, right? They've already been thinking about, I mean, they were preparing for Boston and Miami, but this franchise has been looking at Boston as a potential finals, foe. So they are well versed with the Celtics. They know what's up. They've been thinking about and preparing for Boston. So that's a different factor, right? Now it's like you give Steph, Draymond, Clay, you give Steve Kerr, and that staff time. It's just gonna be a tougher foe. I know people look at this like Boston is a tough team to beat, but the Warriors have shown nothing other than like toughness at Chase Center. Like they'll let you in the game, right? They'll mess
Right.
around, but they've closed really well in these playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the clutch, because like last night in game 7, right, in the Heat versus Celtics, they only like they didn't score for like a few minutes, right? Like several
Like
possessions. It was just
4,
some
yeah.
Marcus Smart free
Smart.
throws. And he took like the last 4 or 5 shots, which I didn't
Yeah.
understand, right? So, and I feel like I see that from them a lot. I have to imagine
Yes.
Ime's gonna want to clean that up, but like you see it sort of regularly.
Hold on, you don't want Marcus Smart taking all the shots at the end? Is that
Oh,
what
I
you're saying?
do, but I mean, he has to know that that's an issue, and that's what teams want,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, no question. When you got Tatum and Jaylen Brown,
Yeah.
Marcus Smart, go crazy, Marcus Smart, right? Like that. I mean, that's kind of what you hope for.
I was
like if
watching,
I'm
like,
looking
what
at,
is Marcus Smart doing? Like, I was like in dismay.
I mean that's the gift and the curse of the streakiness, right? When them dudes make shots, they get a little like it almost works to your advantage sometimes. It's like Dylan Brooks. He make a couple shots early, and it's like, all right, he getting up 25, and that's gonna be a net positive for you. Marcus Smart is one of those guys, and he'll have a game where he's gonna make them, and Boston's gonna win. The Warriors are not gonna sweep the Celtics, right? But Boston has to beat the Warriors 4 times, and I think if they know they're gonna get hot again, they're gonna get us a game, but over the long haul, that's a strategy that's not gonna work. And Steve Kerr is a master at the long game, even if it looks like he should be playing a short game. Like he's a master at the long con.
This is a series though where look, it always benefits them, but I think their movement, right, is really going to benefit them and make it hard on the Celtics because they haven't had to guard a team like this. I mean, I know last night in his post game, Ime said that Miami kind of started to prepare them a little bit for the Warriors, but it's really nothing prepares you for the Warriors until you play them.
I think we learned that, right, in this playoffs. It sounds good until you got to face them.
Right. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. And he started going 7 deep as that Miami series wore on. Right. So I don't know, are all of those, are all of their guys going to be playable in that series? And Rob Williams is clearly still struggling. So I don't know if he's playing every game in the series. I can see where he might have one game off or another game off. And I mean, I know Marcus Smart was out there playing, but he still had a really bad ankle turn, and he's going to be out there chasing stuff around. I just, the Warriors are rested, which they need as the older team. I know that Steph, turned his ankle in that very last game. Looked like he was struggling to move a little bit. I don't know if it was that serious, but he got hurt. It sounds like Otto and GP2 may be coming back, but I mean, I just don't know about the bodies in this series for either team.
Yeah, I think the difference is going to be Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Otto Porter. I mean, Steph's going to be Steph. You're going to get 2 or 3 vintage games from Clay where he just goes off.
Really? 2 or 3, you think? Okay.
What you thinking? 1?
No, I don't know. I think Clay is, I would love to see that. I think that because a lot of people, Clay, so the first series, he looks pretty good versus Denver. Then Memphis, I think that the Memphis matchup was particularly hard for Clay. And I think in the last series, Dallas was really trying to make sure Clay didn't go off. But I don't know if the Celtics are going to be guarding him the same way. So I feel like this will be a better series for him.
Yeah, he had 2-3 good shooting games against Memphis. 4 for 6 in game 3, 3 for 6 in game 5. But game 5 didn't even count. Might as well throw that out.
Right.
8 for 14 games. Okay, maybe they need 2 from him. I think they need 2 from him.
Okay.
But they're going to devote their resources to shutting down Steph and Clay. That's where Jordan Poole. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing that Miami didn't have. They didn't have a second playmaker. They didn't have a second dude who could break down the defense while you're chasing Steph. That proved to be the demise of Memphis, the demise of Dallas, right? And as much as they went 7. I love Drew Holiday, but he wasn't that guy for them. When he was good, they won. And that just shows you when you have a second dude who can break down a defense against the 3rd or 4th best defenders, that's huge. When Jordan Poole comes in and he's playing next to Steph, who's defending him? And there is if you're Boston, you've seen the blueprint, right? Just body him up, be physical. He's gonna fall down and
I love that you asked that question to him, by the way. I mean,
he's always falling.
But he answered it with respect to layups, but he falls all the time. It's not just with the layups.
He couldn't go bad on a shoe deal. He couldn't bring. It's if they try to put a big on Jordan Poole, he's getting to the cup. And that's kind of how they do it. They really trust Al Horford. So it's just a lot to guard. And then we haven't even talked about Wiggins, right? Andrew Wiggins, if he's the slashing, aggressive, I do think this is a Kuminga series, but I also thought Memphis was, so let me shut up. But people who, while you facing Steph and you take away threes, people who get to the bucket, like that's how you break down a defense. So to me, the Warriors have a lot more offensive weapons than anybody Boston's face. And I don't know if you fully can take away Steph with Marcus Smart. I just
No.
don't. I you just don't.
I
Especially
mean,
if
it
Steph
hasn't
is
happened. We've seen them
it
play each
hasn't
other a
yet.
lot. Like Marcus is a very great defender, but he can't like one-on-one by
But they're
himself.
not going to they're not even going to do that. They're going to run them through a bunch of screens, and Boss is going to have to play incredibly sound and disciplined defense on Steph. And if they do that, it allows the other people room to function. And if they don't do it well, Steph burns them. So you probably won't get that many Steph, ISO, and Marcus Smart, but you will get Marcus Smart running around, going. I think they should ISO Marcus Smart. He's going to foul Steph. They all are going to foul Steph because they don't want to get cooked by Steph. So they're going to do too much, like it's 24-hour fitness, and they're going to foul him. And the Warriors aren't going to do that though. They're gonna put them through actions. And we saw Marcus Smart sit down and Derek White play, right? Just because they need to find offense. I mean, I think they average 105 points.
Yeah, like they
finals,
really struggle to score.
So they would have to really hold the Warriors down, and they'd have to score a lot more than they have. So they both are possible, but it's probably not likely.
I'm interested to see Andrew Wiggins and Jayson Tatum because he played great defense against Luka. And I think he's going to be solid on Jayson Tatum too.
I feel like Wiggins is going to, I don't want to say he's going to neutralize Tatum, but I do feel like
I know.
I'm just saying, like, it's crazy to say it about Andrew Wiggins, but I just think Wiggins is going to be a problem, man. Like, Wiggins is going to be a problem. Jayson Tatum is incredible. Like, there's no question about it. But if you look at his game, I don't know why. I just think people sleep on his shooting, and they just give him like he just gets into a step back. And I get it. He's like 6'10", and he gets that shot off. But if we're watching how Wiggins play Luka, where it's like, yo, you take away that step back. I mean, it's just really tough to the Warriors to death. It really is. It's tough to just every time I'm gonna get 40 on drives. Like that's tough. That's tough. And I think Wiggins is a really good defender for Jayson Tatum. I don't want to say this because now Tatum's gonna come out drop 50, but if I was picking a type of player to match up with Jayson Tatum, I want a long leaper, somebody who, when he does that step back, can contest that.
Right.
And I feel like when Tatum is making his threes, like he's incredibly tough to guard. When he's not, he's much easier to solve, and that is right up Wiggins' alley.
So in the Dallas series, the youth movement made some noise for the Warriors. And then there were some people who came on late, like Belly, who ended up being really good for that series. And me and my girl Amber, who are not the biggest fans of Belly. So, but I was really like quite impressed. Is there anyone who we maybe shouldn't expect to see in this series? I mean, we know Kerr will notoriously play like almost everyone, but is there anybody who we're like they're just not going to see time in this series?
I don't think so. I think they'll open up in this series.
Okay.
I think you'll get more bodies, mostly because they tried to shorten that roster against Dallas, and they were running dudes 40 minutes, and the series changed kind of when they opened up the bench. I think they woke up to the fact that while everybody else is going 7 deep, like we can rest guys. I mean, some of the fourth quarters, man, he was sitting Steph forever. It was like, yo,
time to bring it back in, Steve.
6 minutes, yeah. But they were playing They were playing well. I could see it going either way with Kuminga. You know, I could see it going either way with Kuminga. I could see them not feeling like, yo, he's ready, but also see them wanting some type of rim pressure and to promote, you know, like pace. So in the end, if Gary Payton is healthy and playing well, I think those minutes go to him. So I could see Kuminga not playing. I I would have said Belly. He just don't fit in it. Like I could see
Right.
Jaylen Brown saying, "Hey, bro, like come on out here."
Right.
And there is no Luca for him to kind of body up with. Like it's just all athletes on the floor. But I mean, he showed, man. Like he gonna give you. I'm not a Belly fan either,
I don't
but
think this is the series for him. I don't know.
I didn't think it was against Memphis. No, he didn't play much against Memphis either.
No.
I didn't think Memphis. Yeah, this may not be a series for him, but I do feel like the way he played in the last series is gonna make Steve say,
He's
"Nah,
gonna give
man,
us a
let's ride
minute.
with this dude. Let's ride with this dude. Let's go with it."
Okay, well, Belly may see minutes, and I'm sure there's a couple of others who I don't think should see minutes. Will, but anyway,
And
um,
Lee, who drop names.
I think we the Lee experimental time is done. That's what I think. I understand that he was a part of that rotation that made the comeback in Dallas, but no, I really don't want to see Lee minutes.
So you think it's all Moody?
I would prefer Moody, and I still would like Kuminga again in spot minutes. I think you try him until he shows you like he shouldn't be there. And I get what's happened, but his size, his athleticism, it's a problem. And even when I mean, look, his defense it needs work, but I mean, even when he doesn't score, when he attacks the rim, like he always gets fouled and he goes to the free throw line and he's been making them. I just think that there's some positives that he offers.
I do. I think they should tell him if you ever have an open three, you better drive because he's just so thirsty to shoot that three.
He is.
And but if he just drives and goes up hard, like it's probably gonna be a foul. So,
Every
but you
single
know
time.
the difficulty is, and I wonder how Boston's ISO heavy approach works because they don't do the like Luca thing where it's Luca drives and creates all the action and he's whipping it around. They are your turn, Tatum, your turn, Brown, right? And I wonder if the lack of, you know, ball whipping and closing out and all that stuff makes it better for Kuminga. His problem is when they go man and switch to zone and then back to man and back to zone, he's just lost out there. And
Right.
that's a lot to ask for him. I always thought the answer is to put him at the top. The dude at the top doesn't have all these burdens, right? He just like, yo, man, the top. You don't have to corner, dip down, you know, get in and out of the lane, all that stuff. Just put him on ball at the top. But Wiggins is really good at that, so you kind of want him there. Yeah, the maybe the defensive approach is simple enough, but I do think we'll see quite a bit of zone just because if you just take away their threes, they can't score enough. And that was the problem with Dallas.
Yeah.
That was the problem with Memphis. When they made threes, they were in the game. If they didn't make threes, they simply couldn't score enough. The difference is Boston just might be better at stopping the war. Like it'd be more like the last games without Ja in Memphis,
Right.
where they're just more equipped to pressure on the perimeter and protect the rim. Dallas couldn't do both,
right.
And Memphis with Ja couldn't do both.
Right.
Boston might be able to do both, but I mean, man, the Warriors get buckets, bro. This is what this is what they do. They get buckets. It's going to be tough to stop them.
Because even in game 2 with Dallas, right, that was one of those nights where they were scorching from 23s, and the Warriors still like executed and closed at the end and won that game and chased. So that's the thing. On a night where Dallas made 23s, they still lost the game, which is remarkable.
Yeah, and I think the Warriors lead all teams in fourth quarter scoring. Steph is like, I think he had a I don't think did he score last fourth quarter, or maybe he had like a few points, but like per minute he's still the leader, even though I think Tatum and Brown passed him up in points, but in like 4 more games. So like they're finishing games really well, especially at home. And I do think that's a big deal. But I also think another big deal is like you gotta be able to make threes against the Warriors. You just have to. And Boston, they can make threes, man. They shoot 40%. They just don't they don't take a lot, they don't like
Right.
you know they shoot. Let's see, where's Boston? Boston 36.2%. They make 13 threes a game. Dallas makes 15.8. Memphis made like 15 against the Warriors. So you're asking Boston to either take some of that back on defense or just really be consistent with making their threes. They can do it. I think anybody's equipped to do it, but then you also got to add on that's now back-to-back 7-game series,
right?
And it's just a tough. If they pull this off, like they will be a legit championship.
Yeah,
like,
it would
be
for them.
It'll be because they're great. It won't be. But I know people are gonna paint the narrative like, oh, the Warriors choke. Well, like, nope. If they do it, you're gonna have to tip your cap to Boston because it's just people don't beat these. When they're healthy, you just don't beat Steph, Clay, and Draymond. It's just tough to do. So if they do it, it will be exceptional that they did it.
Yeah, and I like the Celtics. I like this team, so I don't have like any animosity towards them. They don't annoy
like Marcus
me.
Smart. Stop it.
No, yeah, I mean, obviously he's their most unlikable player, but outside of him, like they're not really annoying.
The Warriors like Marcus Smart.
All of them. I know Dre does, but do they all?
I think they respect them. Like,
okay.
And
yeah,
they love Tatum, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they love.
I love Tatum too, and he seems like a pretty humble dude. Like he's just like trying to get better, and I mean, no NBA player is truly that humble, but what I mean, just like he's not like really extra or anything. I like Tatum.
I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan.
I like Jaylen too.
I love Jaylen Brown.
Speaking of Jaylen versus Jayson, do you think the right player got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Because some people thought Jaylen should have at least gotten some votes. Jimmy Butler was the only other person who got a single vote.
I mean, I do feel like that Jaylen gets way like underrated in that, in the comparison of them two. I do think like it's closer than people think, but in that series, and especially the way it ended, Jayson was the driving force. He closed games really well.
He also too, he was being doubled some, and I thought he played a really good floor game. Like his playmaking has gotten better. So I think the right person won. I was just curious. Because obviously there was a lot of conversation around Steph winning.
Covering the Warriors conditions you to watch like what the defense is doing and who. To me, the answer to a lot of these questions is what the other team is saying. You know what I'm saying? Like the other team is saying, "Hey, Butler, Marcus Smart, you get on." You know what I'm saying? The other team is telling you what they're thinking in their locker room, and that probably should carry more weight in the conversation than it does.
Yeah. Yes. See, Marcus, this is why Warriors fans love you, because you do the Lord's work and you do your job so well. And so,
wow. Wow.
Yes.
No, with that said, Celtics in 3.
Yeah. What's your real prediction, Marcus? Do you do predictions? Do you say predictions?
I don't do predictions.
Is that true? It's probably
predictions
true.
are a waste of time. For what? We don't know. I don't know. I don't know any more than anybody.
It's an educated guess, but that's fine. You don't have to.
I mean, Warriors in 7. How about that? What does that tell anybody?
Do you no? If you pick a 7-game series, it's a pick 'em. But do you really think 7 games? It's okay.
I mean, remember when Pat Bev was on ESPN and they asked him, he was like, "I got to see game one first." Like, man, that stuff matters. Like it just tells you a lot. I thought Memphis would beat the Warriors, and then I watched game one. I'm like, they're not beating the Warriors. I thought Dallas would be a fight. Then I watched game one. I'm like, oh, this is over in 5. You know, you could just see how things play out. Like sometimes we project, you know what I'm saying? Like we project, and our projections are based on information that don't include right now. So like who knows? If Boston goes out, make 23s and lose game one, like that's a ball game, right? We could say that at that point. Like they play their best game and they lose, right? If Boston takes game one, it's a whole different series. So I just don't I don't have enough information, especially these two teams. Like we haven't seen them. We've seen them 2 times. One was in March, and again, these weren't the Warriors that they saw, right? Like, so it's really tough to kind of put that all in perspective. I could see a scenario where the Warriors win this thing in 5, and it ain't crazy. They haven't lost at home. They go up 2-0. They go to Boston. Everything about every metric everywhere says they'll win a road game, so they'll come back home 3-1. Like, we've seen this story play out, right? Like yes, we've seen it play out. So if Boston don't win one of the first 2 games, they'd be in jeopardy. Like that's just the bottom line, to lose at 5. But if they get one of the first 2, now it's like, okay, they got to win 2 at Chase because the Warriors are going to get 1, unless they just somehow break the streak and the Warriors don't win in Boston, which I don't know why that would be. Everybody else has won in Boston.
Right.
Why wouldn't the Warriors, right? So like you could see a scenario where this ends in 5, and I could see it where it ends in 7. Like we kind of, I just need more information. But if I say Boston, then I'm gonna have Warriors fans pissed at me. And if I say Warriors, and I'm just a homer, so what's the point? Like it doesn't, and none of it even actually matters, right? It doesn't. It has no outcome. No, you know, I'd rather write the stories and do the breakdowns than leave the predictions to the genius.
That's all fair stuff. I don't even know what my prediction is yet, but all of my predictions have been right so far. So I feel like a lot of pressure to get this one right. They've been right.
So hold on, what'd you pick the Nugget series?
5.
And Memphis in 6.
Yep.
And Dallas in 5.
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
So now I'm like, oh, the pressure.
Don't be wrong.
I know. Let's just say that I got the Warriors winning it all. So we'll go there. And maybe by the end of the show, because I don't like in all of those, my gut really told me something. And then just thinking about like the matchups, but I don't know. I haven't gotten the feeling yet. So, but I just feel confident that the Warriors are going to win. So that's what I'm going with for now. And I don't think
like,
it's going to be
isn't
7.
there a part of you that like, we're going to watch this series and Boston's like, they're going to be tired. They're going to look overwhelmed. They're going to look like a team that's in the finals for the first time.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be like, and then everybody's going to be like, of course they beat Boston. Like
that's what they always do. And it frustrates me because I remember I tweeted something and then they tried to like quote unquote pack me up on the timeline because there was like a bunch of, I think, ESPN picks, and like Ramona Shelburne was the only person who had the Warriors in 5 in Denver, and everyone else had it like 6, 7. Some people even picked Denver. And like, I think when they went up 3-0, I tweeted and I was like, shame on all of you, you know, like joking. And people were like, the series isn't over yet. Da, 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 da. They all picked the Warriors. And I'm just like, okay, but you're sort of missing the point. But yeah, I mean, I didn't understand why people thought it was going to be close. And then, yeah, when I went on Brother from Another and I was talking with Michael Holley and I said, people think this series with Dallas is going to be long, but I think it's going to be 5 games. So I don't know. When it comes to the Celtics, maybe it's because I really like the Celtics and respect them. So like, I don't
Man,
want to
they're
say.
so tough, dude. Like,
Their defense is legit.
you know what I never underestimate about NBA players is like hungry dudes, man.
Right.
Hungry dudes play different. They got a lot of hungry dudes. Like Al
Al
Horford is
Horford too.
hungry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't, man. This is the same reason I expected James Harden to win a title at some point, but I guess he wasn't that hungry. But
No.
at some point, when dudes are just hungry to win, like it just brings out another level. And I feel like Boston's got some hungry cats,
They
man.
do.
Like
I
they got some
really like
hungry
Al
dudes.
Horford. I really like him.
I do. I
I
love
wanted him on the
Tatum. I
Warriors.
love. Yeah, that would he would have been. He'd been a great small ball
Oh,
five.
God. I
But
love
yeah,
him.
Jaylen Brown is hungry, man. Like these dudes are. Like their whole reputation is on the line. You know what I'm saying? And they play like it. Like to me, that you just can't discount that. So I can see it going either way, man. I can see
You
the
don't think the
Warriors winning this
Warriors are
one.
hungry though?
Absolutely. That's
They
why
feel disrespected, right?
I just think they know what's at stake. You know what I'm saying? I think they know like what's going on. This is the chance for them to shut everybody up. And I don't think they want to miss that. You know, although I do think them getting to the finals shuts everybody up. But
Does it?
the
I
truth
feel like
is,
it doesn't.
I don't. If anybody's gonna be talking it now after this, then they're gonna talk anyway. Like there's nothing the Warriors can do. There's literally nothing the Warriors can do. Whatever they do, you can find a reason to dismiss it for whatever reason. And the people who want to, they will. But this team was never supposed to be back in. They were supposed to be done. That's what they were supposed to be, and they're back in the finals, right? So
Says the
that's
experts, not Natalie. I never
yeah.
believed
I'm
that. I
just
knew
yeah.
they
So
were coming back.
I, I feel like they've pulled that. I feel like they pulled it off, and this is like a chance to finish it. But I mean, if you're looking at this thing in the larger scope, which is like how Steph views it, right? When he signed a 5-year deal, this ain't like a 1-year plan. You know what I'm saying? So if they're in the finals this year, like what happens now when they can retool, they can
Right.
add players. You know, there were players telling the Warriors no. People chose Brooklyn
Right.
over the Warriors. Does that
Not this
happen
summer. They're
now?
going to be
You know what I'm
saying
saying?
yes.
Like, does that happen now? You know, so they're doing this by they're playing Moses Moody, a rookie, right? Who's really good, but he's still a rookie. They're trying to play Kuminga. They would love Kuminga to be able to play. So they're relying on pieces that aren't fully developed, right? So, you know, who's to say a big man or whatever? Who's to say Al Horford is like, yo, man, somebody like that say, yo, I kind of want to play there. I'm just saying, like, they don't view this as a 1-year plan. Like Steph signed an extension, he's there. He's got 4 more years, so he's viewing it as that, right? And you know, they got 2 more years with Draymond and Clay under contract, so like they're looking at it like, yo, this is what we do now. We're back. We're a contender. We're gonna stay a contender. We're gonna be in this. You know, we're gonna make some tweaks and retool here and there. You know, we may lose some players. You may get some players. But to me, the fact that they're back here is it disproves anything. Like they're
Right.
back here with an entire new cast of role players, an entire new cast of players. They're back here when people said they couldn't be. So whether they win it or not, to me, I think they pulled it off, and I do think at some point they're going to win a championship.
Yes.
You know, but
Well,
you're banking a lot on Jordan Poole, who's never been there before, Moses Moody, Andrew Wiggins, who's never seen this state. Like there are some question marks that we don't know. And while what we've seen to this point, it looks very encouraging, the finals are different. Right?
well, it is.
And it's also different for Boston too, by the way, right? It's also different. We don't know how they're going to respond on that stage, right? Especially when you start entering fatigue and injury. So that's why it's tough. It's really tough to call, but I do feel like there's a lot of vindication for both teams by making it to the finals.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that the finals are different because there's been a conversation this morning about experience and people like Boston does have experience. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 4 times, and that's true. But the finals are still different.
Nah, man, that stuff don't count when it's Steph. All them conference finals don't matter when people talk about like
Exactly.
Steph don't get it done. He never shows up. Bruh got all kind of conference finals dominance happening, right? Game 7 closeouts against Oklahoma City. None of that stuff count.
The Rockets, just so many
Rockets,
teams.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that stuff count. Like, dude dropped 33 in the second half, against Houston, but the narrative is he don't show up in big A. So you either everything before the finals don't count or it does. Like, pick one. But for Steph, it's been none of that stuff counts. You just haven't dropped 50 in the finals, so you aren't that good. Like, that's what people are saying. So you got to keep that same energy.
I think if I just like whatever, how many games it will take or whatever, I think when I just step back and just consider basketball, like for most of the time in the NBA, the better team wins a series, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Warriors are the better team. So that's why I'm
they've even lost a series when they were the better team, which is crazy. Sometimes injuries happen, right?
Right. So I should always caveat like barring injuries, right? Barring injuries, usually more times than not, the better team wins the NBA series. And that's what people sort of lose. And it might be debatable anyway, but I think that's what people sort of lose about like the play-in games when they hold like Memphis against them. It's like, that was a single game. Like if it was a series, that may have not been the outcome, but we'll never know. But it's in a series when you have to play several games versus a team, usually the better team wins, and oftentimes the teams that has the best player will win too. So,
and my stance this entire time, even when they were losing, like even when people were picking them to win 39 games, I've always said this. If you get Steph, Draymond, and Clay in the playoffs healthy, like we just don't see people beating them.
Right.
Like, period. Like, this was true in 2019 and it's true today, amazingly. When they're healthy, if you get them in the playoffs, that's your puncher's chance. It's like that. Them dudes just don't lose over the course of a series. It's really difficult to beat them 4 times, because you got to beat all of them, right? And now that's what makes the Wiggins revelation so important. Now you got to beat Wiggins. Like, if he's with them, that's like 4 dudes who at some point over the course of the series are gonna show up, right? Looney, right? And then if Jordan Poole balls out for 2 games, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they get
it's
2
hard.
good games from Jordan Poole. Like, it's hard to beat these dudes. It's not like, like Tatum and Brown and like, they got to get you all 4 games. You know what I'm saying? Like, they got it. Like, who's the other dude that's gonna go off? It's got to be Tatum or Brown. Who's the other dude that's gonna go off? Who's the other dude that might pop up and drop 30? The Warriors have 3 dudes who might drop 30. Really 4 when you throw in Wiggins. He hasn't done it yet, but 27 is like 30 for him. But like, that's what I'm saying. They have 4 dudes who on any given game can beat you. And it's just a lot, man. So that's what I'm saying. I think people always are looking for a reason to dismiss the Warriors, but I think history will show that these dudes are tough, man. Like, and whoever beats them, like, that's gonna be a feather in their cap. You ain't gonna be like is LeBron walked away from that 2016 like, look, now I'm the GOAT, right? He was like, I just beat these dudes. What? So it's like, these dudes are tough, man. They never stop coming. They never quit. They never back down. They never run from a fight. Like, they don't complain about circumstance. They just go out and hoop. Like, that's what they do. And I think that's why the players on the court respect them, because that's how they are. So if you beat them 4 times healthy, man, you legit. Like, you made it. That's the mama I made it moment. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
That's what it is. So if Boston can do it, Memphis walked away from that series. You don't hear no chirping. You heard, Hey man, they're champions, like they're veterans, right? After all that talk, they wasn't walking away talking about, you heard them talking about you, like what Lucas say, man. I learned a lot.
Yeah,
They
Luca and
tough.
Kid's comments after the Warriors went up 3-0, I thought were very telling. Their post-game comments. And it was interesting to hear a star player of Luca's caliber and a coach like Jason Kidd talk like that, because it almost sounded like they were saying, yeah, we concede. And they didn't. They came out and they played game 4 hard, but it was like they were almost like, all right, we concede.
We're done. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got this. Yeah. I think we'll view those Warriors. I think we'll start to view these Warriors. I mean, we already know, but like the nation will view the Warriors like the Spurs, man. You beat the Spurs, you become a worthy champion. Like you beat Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Tony Parker and Greg Popovich. All right, you must be nice. Nobody said the Spurs were trash because of it, right? Nobody says. I mean, they lost in the first round before. You know what I'm saying? Like Steph ain't losing in the first round since he became a champion, right? But no, it wasn't like a knock against the Spurs to beat them. It was a sign of another team like proving themselves worthy. I think that's how we will view the Warriors, is if Boston beats them,
Right.
like it's like, yo, I
You're
mean,
legit.
that won't be the narrative. It'll be like, I told
Right.
you the Warriors, Steph anything, people say, but history and time will show like you just don't beat them dudes when they're healthy and playing at the same time. So I want to see the next team that can do it. I look forward to it.
For sure. All right. So I have one more thing to ask you about, Marcus, really quick before we wrap. But before I do, gonna have a quick word from Loop. Hey guys, so I'm so excited to announce that I'm partnering with Loop. Loop offers hoop enthusiasts and sports fans like yourselves another way to take your love for the game to the next level. They provide sports cards for card collectors and lovers of the game. Download the Loop app so you can be a part of one of the fastest growing sports communities. Use my personal link, loop.cards/Natfluential. Loop is spelled LOUPE and Natfluential is spelled NATFLUENTIAL. So use my personal link, like I said, loop.cards, plural, /Natfluential. And when you use that link to download the Loop app, you'll get $20 towards your first purchase in the Loop app. All right. So go ahead, go download it now. All these details that I included will be in the description for the show, wherever you listen to your podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, it's also available in the description for the show. And there's a link there, so you can click it. Go click it. Click the link now and get the $20 towards your first purchase. Don't say I never did anything for you. Happy purchasing. All right. And we're back. So, Marcus, you were recently on the Low Post podcast, and like clips of you were being retweeted of everything you were saying. I thought it was like a really great discussion, but something we touched on earlier, when you were saying like, or when we were talking about like Steph and like how people would discount his Western Conference Finals experience. They want him to go score 50. And there's a thing that I feel like I observe happening with Steph, but I'm trying to see if I'm off. But I feel like he's always held, like when people judge him, he's held against himself in a different way though than I think happens to other stars, right? Like, it's like when people were considering him for all NBA, let's say, for example, this year, it was like the shooting slump. But then when you actually compare him to the other guys, I guess, who like made first team over him, the numbers were pretty comparable. So it's always like, well, Steph didn't shoot his normal percentages. Or like when people say he has a down year, it's always compared to 2016, which is like the best season ever for him, but also maybe one of the greatest offensive seasons of all time. And it's like, why is he expected to match that every year? And if he doesn't, then somehow he's not dominant. It's like a very strange thing to me that I don't understand. And it's like when people watch the game and see the defenses are keyed in on him, like they're targeting him, they're designed to stop him. And then he still has the numbers that he does. Instead of marveling at it, people are like, oh, well, look, he didn't do this. And it's just, I feel like I haven't watched this happen with another player. And it's something that still I struggle to understand why it happens.
I think it happened with Bron, especially in the earlier years before Cleveland. People, LeBron went through the ringer, man, and he was doing crazy stuff and still being criticized. But I do think it's just a sign of bad basketball discourse.
Okay.
Like we just don't really know how to talk about basketball anymore. Like it's everybody has their, the basketball dialogue is a lot like American politics, right? Everybody has picked their side.
Yes.
And whatever has happened, whatever happens becomes either validation or a need to defend. Like, so if you've already said he's trash, you can't. If you've already said he's not worthy, you can't ever, you know what I'm saying?
Change your opinion.
Yeah. Like Kendrick Perkins said, if Steph wins another finals and the finals MVP, he will pass Magic. And it's like, if he's better than Magic, he's better than Magic. If he's not, he's not. Like, so when did finals MVP become the barometer for who's great and who's not? It has only been used. It only became a relevant metric when it was used against Steph. Like that. Otherwise it was like.
Thank you for saying this, because I say tournament. It and people say you're just a Steph fan. I'm like, I've been watching basketball for years.
Nobody cared about, when I was growing up, nobody ever cared about the finals MVP. Like I've never used that as a metric. I've never was like, yo, but I've defended Jordan with all of my life. My entire teenagehood was talking about the greatness of Michael Jordan. And that one time was I like, but he has 6 finals MVPs. Like it never crossed my mind. But
Magic is my favorite point guard. And I was like, I've never in my life once talked about a Magic Johnson finals MVP when discussing him.
Because it's like if Kareem won the finals MVP, is that really telling me from what I watched that Magic Johnson wasn't great? Did Cornbread Maxwell win the finals MVP mean that wasn't Larry Bird's team?
Right. Like, and Worthy won over Magic before.
Yeah, it's like, what are we talking? Like, to me, I just never understood that. I would like to see this argument being made pre-2015 because I got basketball cards and finals MVP
it was
ain't
done
on
with
there.
Kobe and Shaq, but I was
maybe it was.
The focus wasn't on the award. It was like, oh, Kobe can't do it without Shaq. It didn't.
Yeah, but it's always used to denigrate, right? It's just used. It's a tool to denigrate. It's not a tool. Like the people who win, like if you're a Cornbread Maxwell, like you're Andre Iguodala, it's a boon to your resume. Like I was finals MVP.
Right.
Jordan don't need a finals MVP. He's Michael Jordan.
Right.
Magic don't need, like, we never looked at that as like, oh, that's official. Like league MVP was the one. Like that's over a whole season. I never got that. But I do feel like our discourse is just centered around being right, and our being right requires denigrating other players. Like it's just, to me, it's not even fun. That's why I don't engage in it. I'm not having these conversations. Like I love hoop. I've been loving it. I've been watching this my entire life, man. I was a 13-year-old kid living in like extreme poverty, like not trying to go outside because this is where people die, and I was watching NBA. Like to me, when LeBron and Kyrie like won Game 6 and Game 7 in 2016, I was thinking, I can't believe I'm at one of those type of moments that I watched as a kid. Like, because this is hoop, and all of this stuff, wins and losses, all of this stuff is a part of the greatness of the NBA. You know, I remember what it was like I hated the Celtics. I hated Dennis Johnson. You know what I'm saying? And they used to beat the Lakers, you know what I'm saying? And that was what we watched. We was watching Magic, and it was like, I hated them. But just being on that stage to me was was crazy. It was like, that's the stage right there. This is it. And they got the intro music, and this, to me, all of that was just the amazing, the amazement of it. So when I see these players now, to me, it's crazy to take anybody in the finals and use that as the platform to denigrate a player. Like, this is the ultimate. Like, people are in other countries with no water on an internet cafe watching this. There are no real losers. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
Right.
To
No,
me,
I hear you.
it's crazy. If somebody wins a championship and somebody loses, like, obviously there are reasons people lose, and you talk about that. But I just never understood why it's not a boon to the team that wins. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. But that's our conversation. We are so, like, even now we're talking about Steph or KD. Like, why? Why are we talking about that? Like, I don't understand that. Why are we talking about,
because
like,
the Lakers? They use it to denigrate our guy, Marcus. You know why, Warriors?
But I just think that's the dialogue is just like, in the end, when we're all 65 and we're all gray and wrinkled, and hopefully we're not alone, right? And we're talking to our grandkids or whatever about it. Like, no one will be saying Steph was trash.
No, they won't.
They will be saying, bruh, you should have seen this dude I got to watch. Just like how my daddy and them talked about Bernard King, and I'm like, nobody ever talks about, like, Bernard King couldn't play defense, or Kareem wasn't. No, they talking about, man, this dude, you think this dude is good now? You should have seen that Steph Curry. Like, we ain't gonna be talking about this. So to me, it's just like a current phenomenon that don't really matter. These dudes are exceptional. Like, they are tremendous. And we're either watching, like, champions be coronated again, or we're going to watch a new great become a champion. I just don't know how that becomes a negative conversation. I really don't understand that. And I really don't want to participate in that. I'd rather go play with my daughter.
Well, listen, that is like the perfect place to end it. Wise words from a wise man. My favorite NBA writer, just so dope. Someone who I admire. Thank you, Marcus.
Pay to get on.
Here we go. Listen, Marcus Thompson of The Athletic.
When did I first ask you to come on?
Oh, here we go.
This was like beginning. This is like, might have been before the playoffs.
Marcus, can you please stop saying you asked me to come on?
That's
not what happened.
The finals. She's been pushing me off to the finals. First it was supposed to be West Finals, and I'm like, yo, can I just get on for the Denver series?
Oh my god!
Can I just get on? I see all these other people on, and I can't get on.
None of this happened, people. This is not true. Okay, like, obviously, if all Matt listeners know, there's been a buildup of the guest, right? And what do they say? You save the best for last, right? So,
can't wait to see who's next. Then
I know, honestly, like, I really wanted to have you on like a couple episodes later, but that's it. Like, I'm out. You are my.
I'm glad
you're the
my
one.
begging worked. I'm glad my begging worked. It is my privilege. It is my honor. You are a soldier on the social battlefield, and it is hilarious to watch. And I appreciate diverse voices in our space. We need more.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Be lifted up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate, the Warriors fans, in particular, the Oakland natives who have accepted me, embraced me. I know everyone doesn't, and some did not want to. They're like, who's this outsider? But over time, I earned some respect from some of them. So thanks. I appreciate that. All right, guys. So Marcus Thompson, pleasure talking with you as always. I know you have a job to go get back to, so I'm gonna let you go. Looking forward to the finals. Yeah, I'm gonna say no, I can't make a prediction. I'm not ready yet. So maybe I will later in my space, but Warriors win it all. All right, guys, you know the drill. Please like, rate, review, all those things. They help me. Until next time, take care.